Hi, I'm Matt from Outspoken Bicycle and Sport in Newbury, New Hampshire, and I'm here to give you a basic overview of Snowboard 101. And basically, snowboarding started in the '60s. People just basically taking wood and putting their feet on it and riding down the hills. And then in the '70s it started kind of picking up, and in the '80s is really when it kind of hit hard around here, around the USA. And basically, it was kind of an outlaw sport. The mountains didn't allow it on there. And people kind of looked at these people being like, what are they doing? Because skiing was just so huge. It was just, humongous sport around the world. And you got these kids, basically teenagers, in their 20s, stuff like that, that were dressing, kind of weird, and not fitting the norm of the everyday skier. And then in the '90s, snowboarding kind of progressed even more with brands more commercializing the sport and actually sponsoring riders and holding events and stuff like that. That's really when it went mainstream, and you would start seeing ski mountains converting over and allowing snowboarders on there. But it was still technically an outlaw sport. People still didn't really like the snowboarders. Skiers didn't like the snowboarders. And then it's progressed into nowadays where, basically there's only 2 mountains in the country that don't allow snowboarding on it. But the way snowboarding is a huge difference from skiing is, you're strapped to the snowboard in 2 spots. Your feet are connected basically by the board. And so you have not as much, you can't move your feet separately at all, which is good because that's the way snowboarding is. It's a lot like surfing or skateboarding on the snow. That's basically the similarities. You have a boot and a binding, but they're completely different as well. Your boot is basically like your average snow boot, but a little stiffer and a little more tight fitting. And you have a binding that you can step in and out of using ratchets and what we call ladders, which is what the ratchet actually moves on. And that's how you're held onto the snowboard. And the clothing is different too. It's a little more loose fitting, more like, you'd see skateboarders, baggier pants, baggier shirts, stuff like that. That's kind of the way it's moved into snowboarding as well, with that kind of style. And also, when they allowed snowboarding on mountains, they started putting half pipes in, which is basically a half of a pipe made out of snow. So you can go back and forth and do tricks in it and everything like that. And they also made terrain parks, which have several different types of features, such as jumps, handrails, really cool things that, people like to ride up the chairlift watching these people do. And back when in the '80s, when snowboarding was getting big, they were starting to do tricks, but not as aggressive and as cool, I guess, as people would say, as they do now. I mean, people are doing basically acrobatic tricks in the air, and it's almost unimaginable what they can do now. And it's amazing. It really is. And it's an exciting sport, a lot of fun to do, and that's basically snowboarding 101.